Well, I'm not sure how far I'll get on this, being I guess I'm going to have to ad lib from now on out of journals. I think that last one ended down. Jeremy and John were born, so that was about the end of the journals. Got pretty busy. I want you to know, I mean, I don't blame your mom for nothing really, because I was the adult. I'm the one that kind of clear back. I recommended that we abstain from sexual intercourse until we got married, even though we were living together and had been for 6 months, because I knew once the priest found out we were both living at the same address, there was no way we were going to be able to get married in the church. And of course, I thought we were going to try and get married on leap year. And it ended up being clear into April before we did get married. So, sleeping in the same bed, if you can imagine it, I got weak first for sure. And it was like a whole different girl there. I mean, it was like no response at all. And that's when I was saying, honey, what are you thinking? What are you feeling? And that's when she said, don't ever ask me what I'm thinking or feeling, because I just can't say. Me thinking I'd fix that. It never happened. That was the one constant through our whole relationship. Anyway, we get down to actually it was while we were still up in Crescent City that I turned on to the Cresil movement. I mean, it was my customer from Jacksonville that sponsored me. He was the bone specialist. And I got to admit, I was just seeking a closer relationship with the Lord. A lot of them guys were just didn't have a clue. One guy even brought his golf clubs because he'd been lied to about what he was going to. But I got a lot out of that. I mean, that was like the Cursillo changed my life. Uh, I guess one thing it's hard to understand, I think. Um, Spiritual and physical, I mean, they kind of boil into each other, especially with a man. Uh, to be turned on spiritually is to be turned on physically, if that makes any sense at all. We're not two separate beings, we're one. Anyway, I know that was a real point of contention with your mom, too. And it was when she got pregnant with John, she had, maybe she's already told you all this. She'd volunteered to learn the Billings method of birth control so that she could teach the young Catholic girls. The last person in the world that should have volunteered for that, because I don't think your mom ever had 2 normal cycles in her whole life. It would vary by days and come and go. And anyway, then she ended up getting pregnant with John. And she was mad as hell at God and said there couldn't be a God. He wouldn't have let me get pregnant while I'm trying to learn this to help church. I said, well, maybe that was his answer to that was, he's in control of all that, not us. But anyway, it's a bunch of guilt went on. For a while there, she was mad at God and the whole world. I don't know if that boiled out into what the baby was feeling. That was awful young. I know it didn't take her too long to get over it, but a little while there. Anyway, then we moved down to DeBerry. And I guess I just want you to know that while we were up there with John, she'd said, I feel like I should be home for the children. I said, I feel that too, but you got to realize we're not going to make the headway of all these other people that got two people working. So we're going to be behind them, but that all seemed okay to her at the time. So as I'm working my business, she's going to La Leche League and meeting all these women who, most of them had a whole lot more money than we did, married to engineers and stuff. And I know that one chick on the, I can't remember her name now either, that lived down on the lake at the indoor swimming pool. That was her good buddy, La Leche League, that she divorced her husband, who was an engineer for the train company, and got $1,000 a month for one kid in the house with the pool on the lake. He had a good enough job that, he took it in stride and kept on going. But anyway, I just wanted to mention where it all really started, and I won't mention names particularly, but this good friend of mine, still a good friend of mine, had an affair with his secretary. And his wife, who's now deceased, finally told him, I want you to move out of here till you make up your mind. Well, that sounded like such a good deal to your mom that she comes home and pops out at me saying, that's a great idea. Why don't you leave and just come back when you feel like spending time with your kids? And I said, me leave? I've done nothing wrong. I said, this is my house. If you don't like it here, you move. So that started, maybe in her mind, she thought that meant her kids as well. And I was thinking, no way. Kids belong here. So anyway, I'm just going to say the things I do remember. It's been a long, long time ago. It's all over. But the things that stuck was, I remember once getting off work and loading the boat up and her standing out there and me saying, honey, I'm always wishing it was you with me. And she said, I guess I just don't like spending that much time with you. I thought, okay, I won't ask again. And finally, she reached some point of, I forget what came first, chicken or the egg there. I come home. Actually, this is confession. I had gone to a coffee shop, and there was this other gal that had a landscaping business there, a little older than me, but we'd known each other quite a while, and we were kind of cousins in the sense of both of us understand pH and microbes and soil analysis and stuff. But so she confesses that she caught her husband having an affair with one of their truck drivers. And so she was all bummed out, not knowing exactly what the hell to do about all that. And that very day, I come home from work and see this note where your mom has left, taken you guys, and just taken off and said, I need to be away. Well, it wasn't very hard for me to figure out where she went. And so I called up Harold and Eleanor, and she was there. And I said, listen, if you want some time alone, bring my kids on back to their house. I'll leave. So she come on back. And it was that first night where I called this gal back up and said, listen to this. And I read the note she left. And she said, oh, wow, you too. And I said, I guess. So we ended up meeting in Orlando and spending the night. It's the only time I ever cheated on her. It was like it was over already, but I was in serious doubts about my manhood and a few other things, because by the time your mom was coming into 30 years old, she was finally able to start communicating. But by then, it was all the things she didn't like about me. And then by then, I didn't give a shit. You know, it's way too late for me to give a shit. So, anyway, so I took off and went up to my dad's up in Arkansas, and that's where I run into him living with Gladys. I guess they got married, but they weren't at the time. And then I'd call home, and finally she's saying, "You need to be down here. This is where the problem is." I said, "All right, I'm on my way." And I drove all the way back, and that's where I, one, lost a good down coat in a restroom at a truck stop or a rest area. And two, I hurt myself bladder-wise because I drove for a lot of miles without ever stopping, anxious to get home. And I'm trying to remember if I'm getting this right, your mom wanted to, if I was going to take off, let her take off first. So she went to the beach for the weekend and then called up and decided she wanted to spend another couple days. And then came home. But during the deposition on the divorce, my lawyer said, "Gary, I don't know what your wife did on that weekend at the beach, but she's lying her ass off." And she was. She was saying she didn't even remember the name. She used a credit card for the first couple nights, and then she apparently used cash or whatever and don't even remember where. I know she went and got laid. Anyway, so I come back, and this had to have been quite a ways down the road. Because I remember one other thing I remember was what she wanted. She wanted a Lincoln Town car and cosmetic tooth surgery and a boob job. And I was supposed to come up with the money for all that. And I'm thinking, I don't recall complaining or anything. I didn't quite understand any of that. It wasn't for me, that was for sure. And I shut her off with a checking account. I found a payment to the electric company that she said she didn't know anything about. I saw it in her purse. So I got to digging around and saw she was, what's it called when you're keeping track? The billings method. Anyway, she was keeping track of herself. Now, why she's doing that? Because I was neutered. So I knew there was something going on. I also went and got the mail one day, and there was a letter from a doctor clear the hell and gone, not her local pediatrician, with some kind of test results. I asked her about that, and she looked at me and said, "Do you just leave that alone?" And it wasn't but a few days after that, all of a sudden, she got sick and told me that she passed something. I'm sorry. Women don't just pass something. Anyway, my guess is it was an abortion. Saline, whatever. But whatever it was. My counselor kind of agreed to me. I kept counseling. And you got to realize we went to marriage counseling for a year. That's a long time, almost every week. But you got to be wanting to fix things for counseling to work. And, we were supposed to make a list of 10 things that our mate could do to show that they loved you. I thought it was 10 each. So I come up with, write me a letter, tell me how you feel, what you're thinking, and blah, 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 blah. And she couldn't do any of those. So I had to scrap that first 10, come up with another 10. And like the last one on it was, make me some chocolate chip cookies. So, okay, I had a bunch of chocolate chip cookies for a while. But that list was supposed to, and then a little later on, we're supposed to assign a value to certain things we wished. So it might be, I don't know, sex is one of them, but something could be worth 5 points to you. If the other person couldn't give you that 5 points, they could give you a 3 and a 2. That's how that worked. Well, we were supposed to have that posted in the bathroom or somewhere so that we'd see it. She kept it in her purse. I mean, none of that worked. And after a year of counseling, the counselor come right out and said, well, I hate to admit it, but the only way this marriage is going to work is if one of you become a different person. Well, that wasn't going to happen. So, anyway, she filed for divorce, and once I saw it coming, I pushed it. Because there was no way as a Catholic I could ask for a divorce. I could ask for separation. She could ask for separation if there was any chance in hell she was hoping to get back together. No, she was listening to her counselors telling her $1,000 a month, blah, blah, blah. You'll get everything and you won't get nothing. And she was saying, I'll take the house and the car and the kids and you can have the job. Well, I'm saying, screw that. You can have the job. I'll take the house and the kids and the car. I don't want that job any more than she did. I did it because that was how we paid the bills. Anyway, maybe I better just stop and say this will be a short one, I hope. I'm just saying this wasn't a short thing. This drug out for quite a while. And then after the divorce is when I got blackmailed out of the house. So I had to get that place I got down the street, a couple blocks, and she had said, tell you what, if you want to get them, feed them supper, make sure they get their showers and baths and do their homework and get them off to school in the morning. Then when they get out of school, they can come to my house or their house or whatever until I get off work. We'll try that. And if that works, then I'll split that money for you. And I think it was $800 a month then anyway. So we did that. You guys probably remember that, living there. I'm still paying the $800 a month too, though. But I had no trouble. That was some of my happiest times, really. It was when there was just you guys and me. We got along pretty good. Went dancing, went camping. Had a lot of fun. Anyway, so after this went on for I don't know how long, I finally said, well, that's obviously working, so what about that money? And she said, it ain't going to work, and pulled the plug right then and there. So now all of a sudden they couldn't. They had to stay back with Mom. And I told her, I said, you might have everybody else fooled, but this is all about the money. And if you don't let me raise my kids, you ain't going to get shit from me. And it won't be my fault. All right, I'm going to stop there. This is far enough.